Um, Make sure I don't forget that. As I said, welcome. Tonight we have with us, for those of you I don't know, my name is Erica Smitka. I'm the executive director of the League of Women Voters of New York State. And tonight we have with us someone who, if you've been involved in this work, you probably know. But if you don't, I'd love to introduce you to Cleanna Lightbourne, who is our campaign director and is the lead on or is running our campaign for our Democracy During Detention Act. And so without further ado, Cleanna, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'd ask that folks just stay muted throughout the presentation, and we should have some time for questions and answers at the end. If you have questions that you got to get out, just feel free to plug them into the chat, and I'll keep a running list. Cleanna, I'll hand it over to you.
Great. Thank you so much. And good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. My name, like Erica said, is Cleanna Lightbourne. And today we're learning how to use power mapping, which is a simple visual tool that helps us understand who holds influence in a campaign and how to shift it. We'll walk through this using the Democracy During Detention Act because I know a little bit about that one as our live example. And just so you have a reference, the Democracy During Detention Act, which I'll probably refer to for the rest of this evening as DDDA, ensures that every eligible New Yorker detained in local jails can register and receive a ballot. So by the end, you'll know how to spot where influence sits, um, who connects to whom, and how to engage them so your democracy actually reaches everyone. So let's get into what power mapping is. Power mapping is basically a strategy snapshot. It's a way to make invisible power visible, to see where the strings are, to see relationships that impact decisions. In campaigns like DDDA, it helps us figure out who can move a bill forward, who shapes those people's thinking, and what paths we have to reach them. When we power map, we stop guessing and start organizing around real influence. So, why this matters for our campaign? The Democracy During Detention Act is about democracy access, not jail reform. So, right now, voting access inside jails depends on correction staff, people outside of the election system. The bill shifts that structural responsibility to boards of elections, which already serve in nursing homes and other congregate sites. Like we're saying, we're putting the accountability in the hands of the voting experts of our state. In order to win this legislation or to win this bill, excuse me, in order to pass this legislation, we need to understand who supports that shift, who resists it, and who is undecided when it comes to making voting in jail accessible. And that's what power mapping helps us see. So I've said power a bunch of times, but I want to make sure that I level set and we all understand what the different kinds of power can be in a campaign. Power that is there's power within, and that is the inner confidence people have that change is possible. The power of one, the power to make change. Then there's um, power that comes with, and that's the power of collaboration and coalition work. Next is power two, and so that is the ability to take or to block actions. Think of Senator Myrie and his support with our current legislation. And then power over is the institutional control. So, like when sheriffs decide who can deliver ballots before we pass this legislation. So, power mapping helps us see how these forms interact so we can rebalance them towards democracy. When we use this kind of framing, we can see who's maybe got too much power or who's got too much influence or who doesn't have enough power or influence. So, I'll introduce you to our power map grid. This is our canvas. Everyone who affects the campaign. That's people, agencies, organizations. They all go somewhere on this grid. Going back to math days, the x-axis or the horizon shows the stance from opposition. Wait, did I? Yep. So from opposition to support. And then the y-axis shows their influence level, whether it's a high influence or low influence. And then I've separated the grids to show when you're in these certain regions, what that power lies in those spaces. So plotting plotting people on this grid tells us uh, where we can focus. So if you look at the top right, those are the champions that we have to mobilize. Those are the folks that we have to make sure are talking about the bill, are celebrating the bill, are mentioning the bill every moment they have. And those will be, our coalition members and the like. Then we have the top left. Those are folks who are against the bill and have the power, as you get higher to the top, have the power to impact the bill. So we want to make sure that those folks, we're pulling them over to the center so they at least don't say anything about the bill. We're trying to use that if you can't say anything good, please don't talk about our bill. Next, oh, Erica, go ahead.
Anna, I hate to interrupt, but it looks like we're cutting off just the bottom half of the slideshow. So
No
if
way.
yeah, if folks
Okay.
don't mind just bearing with me for 1 second. Oh, that looks great. That's perfect. You fixed it.
Okay. Yeah. All
Great.
right,
Perfect.
let me move this up to the top then. Okay, great. Sorry about that.
Nope, it looked great. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. So we've gone over the champions, we've gone over the opponents. Next, the bottom right are the supporters. Those are folks that are in our corner who might not have as much influence, but they have, they're able to door knock, they're able to phone bank, they're able to do a number of things that help us really, put the bill on the map, make our campaign known to folks who don't know, have not been introduced to it before. And then the bottom left are folks that we don't necessarily have to worry about, but we should keep an eye on. Folks that we need to monitor and make sure that they're not gearing up against the bill. So here's the power grid map that helps us act strategically and not emotionally. So when we put this into practice with DDDA, this is what our campaign map looks like. As you can see at the top, you might not be familiar with the faces, but I'm familiar with these names. This is Assemblymember Latrice Walker and Senator Myrie. Both of them are the sponsors of the bill. So right now, they're the champions when it comes to the floor of working to get this bill passed and working on helping us getting co-sponsors and more people to support the bill. Next, we have Senator May and Senator Comrie, and I think that's Senator Hinchy. Yep. So those are further supporters, further champions of the bill. These are the co-sponsors that have a lot of influence within the Senate, whose weight and influence really mean a lot when they talk to people about our bills. So we want to make sure that we're not only thanking them for supporting, but asking them to talk to other people about the bill, and ways that we can move it forward. And with the people up in this corner here, you can do that with pretty much any campaign. Those are the folks that you want not only talking about the bill, but talking about how they believe in the bill or whatever campaign that you're working on. Now we'll go to supporters who amplify. This is Crystal People Stokes, Assembly Member Crystal People Stokes. So while they're not a huge supporter of the bill, they still have a high influence. And that would be somebody that we would need to work with, to ensure that they feel good about what we're putting forward in legislation, and that they are able to speak in support or help clear up any confusions or questions. So as you can see, the Sheriff's Association right here in the pink zone holds high influence, but they oppose us. So we neutralize them through reframing, and through BOE partnerships. Because if we have the Board of Elections saying, hey, this is a viable bill, they can't say whether they support or they don't support it, but they can say, hey, this bill this bill can be done in the jails, that the framing, the schema of this really works, and this is something that can be done. So, if that's your concern, you don't have to worry about it there. And then we also use key members of the Board of Elections like Ashley Torres, who has been monumental in Ulster County, getting the great voting in jail program. We use folks like that to reach out to other boards of elections, as well as Sheriff Juan Figueroa, who is Ashley's counterpart in getting the voting in jails program off the ground. They are excellent folks that we can tap to go and speak to the Board of Elections if they're feeling like this isn't something they want to do or something they don't like. And we have Sheriff Figueroa go and speak to the sheriff's associations to let them know about the importance of voting in jails and the fact that it is a constitutional right for all who are eligible to vote. So we also have the Association of Counties that sit right on the line, and we engage them with pilot data from Monroe County. This is what we work on to kind of show that the numbers work, that the costs are low, that the impact is high, and this is an important bill that is tied into our Constitution. I'll say that again and again. So local leagues and advocates are not put on here because otherwise it'd be all over the place. But I wanted to give you something a little cleaner to look at. Um, Local leagues and advocates have lower institutional power, but they have strong social power. So making district visits, making calls, writing op-eds, writing memos of support, and the like are things that can greatly influence a group, even or legislators, even if they're in a low influence corner, like here, the supporters to amplify. So seeing this laid out in this way shows where we can best spend our energy, um, and how we can move forward in creating an outreach system and to really amplify the work and the campaigns that we're doing in a way that doesn't waste our time. So I would like to offer an exercise for folks, if that's okay. What I'd like to do is um, to think about a campaign, or maybe um, something that you would like to see happen, whether it's getting the potholes filled in your neighborhood or the like. Um, so we're going to take these 5 steps to Power Map. We're going to define our goal. The one that I'm using today, of course, is the passing of DDDA. And then the next you would do is identify who holds the decision-making power for the thing that you want. If you're looking to, have the potholes filled in your area, then you'd probably want to go to City Hall and find out who there, maybe the engineer, who would be the person that would best be able to support you. For me, it would be the Senate and Assembly members, as well as the elections committees, boards of elections, and sheriffs. But really, I'm focusing most on the Senate and Assembly elections committees, because that is who really, at the end of the day, gets to say yes or no. Then we're going to list who influences them. Press is a huge influence. Advocacy groups, constituents, voters are all people who are big influences to Senate and Assembly members. Then you would take time to plot them on the grid. Who has high influence and high support for getting your potholes filled? Maybe it is a city council member who also lives in your area, who has had to have their shocks redone 3 times already this year and are absolutely sick of it. Those kind of things. We want to figure out who can help us move along our goal and who is also a stakeholder in that work. So you would plot them on the grid, and then you would plan your next moves. You're able to use these steps using a worksheet that I can provide later. These are steps that you can use in really figuring out who are the decision makers in your um excuse me, who are the decision makers in your target area, and then how to get those decision makers to see your idea and get a better idea of moving this legislation forward or whatever project or campaign you've got going. So again, just showing you a little bit about what the grid looks like. We've already seen this, so I'll move forward. So, some great questions to ask yourself today is, where is most influence today when it comes to your campaign, whatever you're working on? That kind of research is so important to know who's holding the decision making power, and then who is surrounding that person, who is influencing that person, whether it be the press, whether it be their their bird watching group. It's really important to know like who has that person's ear and their respect. And then the next question to ask is, who can you move next? Who might be movable this session or this quarter? And power mapping is a living process. So it changes as people shift areas and as we build new relationships. For DDDA, this helps us track who's with us, who's persuadable, and where opposition power is shrinking, because that's what we want it to do. We want that opposition to shrink. And so the more clearly we see power, the more effectively we can expand our democracy. And believe it or not, we're at the end. Thank you, everyone. I know power mapping is actually a really big and really intensive process, but I wanted to give everyone just an overview of what it looks like and the benefits of doing power mapping in your groups and in your areas. So
Great.
I
Thanks so much, Cleanna. I know that we've got one question. We didn't focus hyper specifically on the bill today because it is we really wanted to give an overview of power mapping, as Cleanna said. But we do have one bill specific question from Marge in the chat. She asks, "What is the current objection to the bill?" Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, so the current objection to the bill, what we're hearing most is really pushback from the Board of Elections and the Sheriff's Office of just, we have too much going on. They're willing to do it, but actually, they're not willing to do it. That's the thing. It's doable, but they're not willing to do it unless it's a law, unless they're forced to do it. So right now, they're just saying, it's not making sense for us. We don't have the people power to do this, and that kind of thing. It really is like a staffing kind of thing. Erica, did you want to add to that? There's also concern about cost. But DDDA has been shown to be very inexpensive. We have folks who are doing the pilot program, um, where it hasn't even cost them, over even $1,000. It's not cost them much to make this happen in their jails.
Yeah, I'll just say that the pushback that any pushback that we've heard so far is it really varies by county. So d different counties in New York State obviously operate very differently when it comes to elections, and different counties need different resources or need different incentive, we'll say, to force them to do what they should already be doing. So any suggested changes or pushback to the bill have primarily been around those in those areas, in addition to some concerns about cost that we've heard from a few different boards of elections and the capability. Our local boards are chronically understaffed and overworked.
Mhm.
Laureen asks, who is currently doing pilot programs across the state?
Yeah, we currently have there are a number of pilot programs that have been happening even before this legislation was put up. We've got groups in Albany, Suffolk, Ulster County, Dutchess is working on theirs, Broome Tioga County is doing work, in New York City, of course. Erica and I actually headed to Rikers tomorrow to help with a voting in jail initiative. Um, let's see, where else? I think we've got Saratoga as well. So there's a nice, spread out group of, um, programs that are being done. But the downside to that is, should one person because it's being done by organizations outside of the jails and outside of the BOE, if someone were to retire or to take a sabbatical or decide not to do it anymore, we've lost the entire infrastructure for that because a lot of times this work is a pet project for one of our league members or for yeah, for a league member or for someone in the community. And so that's one of the reasons why we're also pushing for DDDA so that we can have uniform programs that, well, not, well, we have uniform, not programs necessarily, but policies and
Uniform access.
procedures.
Uniform
Yes.
access, yeah, implemented in a way that makes sense for each
Hmm.
camp. So sorry, not to, I knew you were
No, no
grasping for a
worries.
word. So I think that those are all the questions that we have in the chat. So do folks have any other questions that they'd either like to plug into the chat or they'd like to, you can feel free to unmute yourself and jump right in if you'd like.
How can the local leagues support you guys in power mapping in our areas to support this bill?
Love that question. So every Tuesday from 2 to 3 p.m., I actually hold open office hours where folks can come in. There's a Zoom link that we can send out later, and folks can come in and talk to me about the bill and stuff. One of the things we can do, depending on your region, we always have a targets list of, folks that we're trying to talk to. We're always trying to get in front of the boards of elections in the different counties, as well as the sheriff and then with the and then with the senator and assembly member of that region, so that all of them know about the bill. The assembly members and senators support the bill, and then BOE and the sheriffs at least know that, hey, this is going to be something that you're going to do, come next year because we're going to win it. So being able to sit down with me and really figure out who is in your area and then who in your groups can influence them or ways to influence them, that's always super helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Great question. Any other questions that folks might have?
Sorry, maybe it's just me. What
No,
are there other bills that I know we've been really active, like the league has been really active in promoting and working on substantively, working on this bill in particular, but are there other bills that we're supporting in the state that we should be thinking about how to reach our local electeds to promote?
are you talking about like democracy bills or just any bills that we'll be supporting in the next legislative session?
Yeah, either one that you want to talk about.
There are definitely okay. I hesitate to do this because there's always our league. The interest from league members is like vast and wide reaching. So if I mention a few bills, then people will be like, "What about this? What about this?" So we'll keep this in this group here. There are a few things that we'll definitely be pushing for. Certainly initiatives around voting in jails, obviously, right? And then we're also going to be working on reinvigorating the push for same-day voter registration, which is it should be. I don't need to pitch it to this group, but should be an easy win. People want to be engaged in our democratic process. When they show up to the polls, they should be able to engage. Um, Same day voter registration, working on a bill that would make it more that would would necessitate more accountability when someone is challenged at the polls. So I just can't, at this point, I could walk into the polls and say, hey, I don't think Cleanna actually lives where she says she lives. I don't think she should be able to vote. And then the onus is on Cleanna to say, no, I am who I say I am. I live where I say I am, where I do. And she has to fill out an affidavit ballot. This would mean that I would have to fill out essentially like an oath saying like, I, Erica Smidka, think that X, Y, and Z, Cleanna shouldn't vote for X, Y, and Z reasons. And the reason this bill is important is for a number of different reasons, but we've actually seen this happen in real time. I wonder if we have any folks from our Long Island leagues on the call, but at Stony Brook, not this past election, but the year before, there was a professor who was actually working the polls and he was challenging every single student who came in to vote. So every student he said, no, I don't think you should vote, making every single student fill out an affidavit ballot. This is your first time to vote. You're not going to be super incentivized to come back, right? You didn't have a good time. You certainly didn't have a good time at the polls. So um, we are. Those are just a couple of the democracy bills that we're thinking about and talking about. It's not exhaustive. I see Barbara is pushing for safe and fair traffic enforcement. I know we talked about that at one point, Barbara. I appreciate the boost here. I will look into that. We obviously have a okay, we can regroup on that. We obviously have a number of different issue specialist groups that work on everything from healthcare to the environment to criminal justice reform to um, uh, rural issues, education, campaign finance reform. The list goes on. So these few bills I've mentioned are certainly not exhaustive of everything we'll be doing, but it's a little sneak peek, I guess.
Uh, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Vivian.
Okay, yeah. Lindsay asked the question about other bills, and since she's the chair for the criminal justice reform, I just say to her with the League of Women Voters in New York State, Lindsay, we're focusing on elder parole and fair and timely parole for 2026. So, yeah.
Thanks, Vivian. I appreciate that. And those are two bills that we have been supporting for quite a while, and that really got a lot of pickup in the last session. So, I mean, I think that there's a lot of energy behind passing them this session. And there's a few other bills that our Criminal Justice Coalition worked on last year too, including no slavery, and the rest are escaping me. But we'll be also launching a legislative hot topics meeting where we're going to talk about all of the issues that we are looking at as priorities going into the next year. We do that every year, typically like after the state of the state. So keep an eye out for that date. It'll probably be the end of January, beginning of February. Any, go ahead, Vivian, you're on mute. Oh, Vivian, I think you're still on mute if you're talking. Oh no, put it in the chat, Vivian. Do we have any other questions? No? Go
Well,
ahead, Vivian.
the quick question is, would this bill be considered a budget bill or not budget bill?
Great question. Do you want to jump in? Yes, there are fiscal implications to this bill, right? There are expenses that the boards of elections would need to incur in order to effectively administrate voting within our current jail system, carceral system. So yes, we will be looking at numbers that will be asking for, and I'll be working with the Criminal Justice Coalition to get some funds set aside for voting in jails. It probably won't, as in years past, it was the Assembly Member Walker put in 500,000 for voting in jails. So it's not like specifically tied to one specific bill typically, but it will be for this initiative. So we'll be looking to do the same thing this year, but are hoping to just kind of try to nail down those cost numbers to be a little bit more solid with the sponsors before then. Okay, go ahead, Ramona. I'm gonna put myself on mute.
Erica, I just kind of want to get a feeling for this. Maybe I'm losing something along the way. You have pilot projects going on around the state. What is our approach, or is each area taking a different approach? I mean, do we go to our local boards of elections just to feel them out first? Do we go to the sheriff's department to see, um, I mean, to sort of anticipate maybe their interest or lack of it? I'm not quite sure. And are all of these just geared to League of Women voter groups going in maybe and doing the voter registration? Give me a little bit of a broader look at this.
Sure. Thank you for asking. So some of the in jail voting programs actually started before this legislation. So I don't know the details on that one, but there have been a few. The Suffolk County one we helped kind of start that one. And what I did was I created a kind of a template, and so they would kind of do the research to find out who's the board of elections, who's the sheriff, and the like, and you would go call the prison or call the jail, excuse me, to find out if there's already a voting in jail program, because sometimes there are other groups that go in and
Right.
we'll do it, every once in a while, every 6 months or something like that. So making sure that there's not another program available, and then contacting the board of elections. You could tell the sheriff you're interested in implementing a voting in jail program, so you can get their go ahead, and then you would work with the board of elections to get the appropriate paperwork to go in, and as well as getting the figuring out how to get those ballots and affidavits and the like to the back to the boards of elections, because they do have a kind of like a secure handoff thing they prefer to do when it comes
Right.
to the voting, not just
Yeah.
registering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to understand, is to kind of get my arms around it. Would you be able to send that template to everyone who's evidenced some interest in it? I mean, just to see we have something to work with, or no? Or we just,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I
can
think that would
actually
be
do that
helpful.
right now.
That would be helpful because, I mean, yeah, I can see the resistance. They're going to say, well, we've got more important jobs to do. We don't have time to register people. But that's another story. So thank you very
Right.
much. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you. Here, I just dropped it in the chat.
Okay.
So you could view it there.
Thank you. Thank you very
Of
much.
course.
Oh, Ramona, I also just want to quickly boost. Lindsay put in the chat the report that Hazel
Yes.
Weiser and Vivian and Richard Rifkin did, along with many other individuals who were incredibly helpful in pulling that together, did on
Oh,
what different voting in jails programs look like across New York State. That was
that's great. I think that would be very
summer of
helpful. I mean, it's
23.
just otherwise, I don't want to reinvent
Yeah.
the wheel and have to do double work.
That's right.
Of
Thank you.
Yeah.
course. And if you
Thank
have
you.
any questions, please just feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help and, make sure that you're not doing back work that we've already set.
Exactly. And or to screw up something. I mean, that you're
Um,
in
can I
process.
add something to that too? So in New York City, the Legal Aid Society has really pioneered the voting in jail program, and they've been in there for years before the league got actively involved. And there, so every county should have some sort of legal aid presence, and they will have jailhouse lawyers, even if there's just one or there's someone who does multiple counties, but they will have a team there who's focused on they call it prisoners' rights issues, and that person will probably have a sense of if something is going on, and if not, like, was there something in the past, and who might be able to speak to you about the history. That person might be is likely to be more motivated and forthcoming talking to you about this than maybe someone in the sheriff. But you also make it a very friendly sheriff's office person too. Like if you read Hazel's
Yeah.
report, some of the sheriff's offices have been really like welcoming to these groups, others not so much. But the report is a really great resource to kind of get a sense of the different experiences people have had
Thank
trying to
you.
run the programs.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Any final questions that we have? Okay, we'll keep this a short and sweet Democracy Defender series this evening.
Yes.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We will, Clean, is it okay with you if we share out the slides? We didn't talk about that
Oh,
before.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yes, please
great.
do.
So I'll share out the
Of
slides to the
course.
folks who registered for this call, and this recording can also be found online. But thank you all so much for taking the time to join us here this evening, and looking forward to talking and working with you all in the future. Have a great night,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
Thank all of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.